Well, it's a beautiful Monday afternoon in late July. I'm rolling up through an area of national forest I've visited before, but driving up a road I've never driven up before. A buddy of mine came down from Washington. He's actually buying my old awning, so he came down to pick it up, and we decided to go out and see if we could find some place to camp.
We've pulled off the road for a moment to look at the map and enjoy the views of the river rushing below us.
Now, for some reason, in this sort of off-road overland community, I hear a lot of negative talk about electric vehicles, even like angrily negative talk about electric vehicles. I don't really know much about them, so I was very curious to hit the trail with Chuck and his Rivian and learn a little bit more about it. Now, we're going to talk more about his car a little bit later in the video. I hope you will give it a chance, even if you don't like electric vehicles. I'm open-minded. I like to learn about new things, and so I hope you'll stick around and watch this one.
I've camped in a number of nice spots in this area over the years, but we're going to explore this road I've never driven before heading to camp.
There are a number of reasons why you typically see me go out by myself, but one of them is that it is just more difficult for me to film the way I typically film, get my shots of where I'm going when there's another vehicle. To get decent sort of long shots at all with another vehicle involves a whole lot of running back and forth because, there's a vehicle blocking my way. In this particular case, Chuck drove down from Port Townsend, Washington, which is a pretty long haul from Eugene. So it was already well into the afternoon before we even left Eugene and headed up into the hills. So there wasn't a whole lot of driving or exploring in the first place. And I had a couple of campsites in mind, but as we were driving around this new area to me, Chuck had noticed on Gaia GPS, which he was able to run on a much, much larger screen. He noticed a little spur that looked like it might have gone to a creekside campsite. And it was around 6 p.m. by the time we got to there. So we were definitely ready to check that out and stay if it looked good.
We agree this is a perfect spot for the night, so we're getting camp set up. I had been planning to camp somewhere along that river we saw earlier, but this site we found is more than just a pretty spot in the forest, with a pristine mountain creek flowing by.
Like I mentioned before, there's for some reason a lot of animosity in this community towards electric vehicles. And I was really curious to learn more. I sat down and had a conversation with Chuck and was impressed by some of the things that I learned about his Rivian. And I do have chapter links in this video, so you can skip this conversation if you want to. I'm not trying to convince you that an electric vehicle is right for you. An electric vehicle would not work for the way I travel, and I know it would not work for many of you, but it is, I think, a reasonable and feasible choice for some people and the way that they travel. So, you know, let's talk about the Rivian a little bit. So how are you liking the Rivian?
I like it. Yeah, it's really fun. Does really good off-road. I've done all kinds of stuff in the Olympics by my house. Some pretty big washouts and water bars, you know, pretty deep water bars.
So it's got some kind of four-wheel drive, or?
Yeah, it's all-wheel drive, so it has two motors, one in the front, one in the back, and that runs each of the wheels. It has a off-road mode, and then on-road it goes to two-wheel drive for economy. And then it has a camp mode, and so the camp mode levels the car, and so you can see now that it's sitting on uneven ground, but the car's all leveled out. So when you sleep in it...
Yeah, you didn't have to like maneuver around 20 times like I did.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't need to carry out around those Lynx blocks or find a rock to roll up on. It also has, it's called Camp Courtesy, and that turns off all the bells and whistles, literally. So it doesn't make any noises. It doesn't pop open or turn the lights on every time you approach it. And so it's really nice, especially if there's other people, you know, somewhere nearby. Car's not always just going off every time you need to get into it.
And you mentioned that it's actually got different ride levels?
Right, exactly. So it's got a low, standard, and in the all-terrain mode, you can go to high and highest. And that gets you to 14 inches of clearance, I think.
Wow.
And it's all just one flat, you know, there's nothing hanging down there. It's perfectly flat. There's no pumpkin to get caught on anything. 34 inches of water fording.
Really?
Yeah, which is more than a Jeep Wrangler.
Most vehicles would need a snorkel to go through 34
exactly,
inches of
yeah.
water. You're not going to hydrolock that thing.
No, not at all. There's...
My viewers have seen you previously
Yes.
camping with your Tacoma with the Scout camper.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to keep that. That's the main rig to go camping in. It's comfortable. It has standing headroom. It fits the wife and the dog. So this will take me to places that are further afield because it's a pain in the butt to drive that Tacoma with the big camper on it. And making your way across eastern Washington or eastern Oregon to get to Idaho, or if you want to go to Yellowstone or, you know, Glacier or something. Every time someone talks about EV camping, someone will say, what's the range on that thing? And what are you going to do when you run out of battery? And the thing is, you just plan your range the same way you do with an ICE. If you've got 340 miles of range in your 4Runner, you don't go deeper than you can't get out. Right. And yeah, you can carry extra gas, and then that's the planning that you do for it. But you can do plenty of stuff. It's perfectly capable to go anywhere. Then you just, you know, want to make sure that you don't go too deep and be able to get out. The other good thing about Rivian is they're placing their charging stations with an adventure in mind. So they've got charging stations in Joshua, and there's charging stations in Yosemite, and there's, you know, in places where adventurous people are going to go. And then the other thing is you can use Tesla superchargers, and there's plenty that are somewhere in the mountains that you can go to get up to 100%, and then drive into the forest and, you know, go do whatever you want, and you don't run out of, you know, of juice.
When you stop at a charging station to fill up, obviously that costs money, right?
Right.
What does it cost to
so
fill up your...
Yeah, when I got to Eugene, I filled up from 20% to 100%, and I think it was about $13-14.
What kind of range did that buy you?
100% full on this one with the all-terrain tires on it is 260 miles. And this is the dual standard, which is the smallest battery pack and the smallest number of motors. So it has the least range, and it was the only one we could afford. I think the dual max, which is the biggest battery, is 410 miles now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's more than my Frontier plus my extra fuel.
Right.
So normally in your normal day-to-day life, you go home, you charge at home, right? You don't go to a
Yeah, I
charging
charge
station
at
to
home,
charge it,
exactly.
right?
Haven't even noticed a bump in my power bill. I plug it in maybe every 3 nights, every 3 or 4 nights. We live in a small town and we don't do a lot of driving. So, you know, if you're commuting in it for 40 minutes a day, you're probably plugging it in every night.
So how are you going to sleep tonight?
You put the 2 rear rows down and you get a perfectly flat floor. It's got the smiley face.
It does have, it's a very friendly face.
Did you feel like someone was watching you as I was driving behind you?
It's the middle of July, but we're up at some elevation and the temperature is dropping as the evening progresses. Here in Oregon, our annual campfire ban started back in June, so I'm glad I brought along my compact propane fire pit to take the chill off as we have dinner and continue catching up. Chuck has to get back to Washington today, and I've still got more truck and camper projects I need to complete during our dry season, so it is already time to air up and head home. When I got back to Eugene, I had consumed about half a tank, roughly $40 worth of gasoline. Chuck's batteries were still at 40% by the time he hit Eugene, so he still had quite a bit of range remaining after our entire round trip. What do you think of electric vehicles? Potentially suitable for adventure, or best kept commuting around town? Let me know in the comments below.